Remember this guy?
Tourism is the number one service that we export. Number one, and that means jobs. More money spent by more tourists means more businesses can hire more workers. It's a pretty simple formula.
It's a pretty simple formula, right up until it's not. I mean, I miss this guy, but he kinda got it wrong here. It's a bit like saying, if you want more to eat, just put more pasta in the pot. Problem is, the pot only holds so much. So this formula only works up until a point. In fact, you don't need to look any further than that building behind Obama. That's Cinderella's castle. He's standing in Disney World. And Disney World closes its gates several times a year because it gets too crowded. I don't blame Obama. This has been conventional wisdom about tourism for ages. But as post-COVID travel starts ramping up, it's important that we acknowledge this caveat that there is a tipping point. I've been getting a lot of questions by email and LinkedIn. I thought I'd answer one. This one comes from the Interim CEO of Visit Vancouver, Ted Lee. Ted, the floor is yours.
Hey Doug, any thoughts on how destinations can catalyze a reinvention of tourism in their communities? Appreciate your thoughts.
Great question. So let's start with this. Tourism is a business, and it's not a business that happens tucked away in a factory on the edge of town. Nor is it a little store that people can just walk by and ignore. Tourism is a business that affects the entire community. It'll impact the local way of life and the environment. So before a destination allows an entrepreneur to turn the city upside down with a giant hotel or theme park, I think the first step is to figure out what the locals want from tourism, how much they're willing to put up with, and to what extent that it's possible to try to paint them a picture of what those various futures could look like so they could make an informed decision. And then define what success would look like within that. So do they want to grow 10% a year, cap the number of visitors, focus on sustainability? In other words, figure out how to make tourism work for you. So let's say that the community has a town hall meeting and listens to some different visions of what that future could look like with or without casinos or golf courses or yoga retreats. And they decide that the future they want is, let's say, hiking trails and mountain biking and boutique eco-hotels, plus a decent number of regulated short-term rentals so more locals can participate in the tourism economy. Then the idea is to figure out what success for that is. How many visitors is the ideal limit? How do you keep the service high? How do you recruit great employees? And what other experiences they can offer? Without choosing a clear direction, simply catalyzing tourism with promotion or some random products, it's like lighting one of those little New Year's rockets and throwing it up in the air and then ducking for cover. Because this affects everyone, maybe more people should be involved in the decision. And Ted, when it comes to reopening communities after this pandemic, let me return to Disney for just a moment. Disney often gets a bad rap. When people compare a destination to Disney, it's a sign that it's become overcrowded and a phony copy of itself. And I'm not going to argue with that. But there's another, more positive Disney comparison that we don't talk about often enough in tourism, and that's Disney's management, development, and crowd control. Here's the crazy thing. For a destination to avoid becoming Disneyfied, ironically, the smartest thing they can do to prevent it is to adopt Disney-like management and crowd control. I'm going to say that again. To avoid feeling like Disney, destinations need Disney-style management. As Disney opens for business after coronavirus, just watch. They're going to open holistically. And by that I mean they're not going to open a few random things here and there, all with different opening hours and different hygiene policies and different social distancing policies. They're going to use the same playbook and make sure there's synergy, compliance, and communication throughout. Instead of looking at Disney as a sign of a failed destination, let's take another look. There are some great lessons we can all learn from.
And I confess I am excited to see Mickey. It's always nice to meet a world leader who has bigger ears than me.